So this is the first in my everyday guides. If you want to watch really technical makeup videos, there are so many out there that I just don't really think there's any point in me doing another one. But I get asked a lot by normal everyday, not hugely makeup minded people how to do certain things, so I thought it would be more useful to have an everyday guide to stuff. The first one, which is one I get asked a lot, is going to be my everyday guide to brows. If you want to have a more technical video on brows, I'm going to put a link to Sam from Pixie Woo below, because as far as I'm concerned, the video that I'm going to link to is her brows in that video are perfect, really beautiful. She doesn't naturally have a very full brow anymore from plucking them, so if you're someone who has, I've obviously got quite a good brow, if you're someone who has it's less brow than me and wants a more detailed idea of how to fill them in, then this is the video I think that you should follow. It's the video that I would follow, because I just think they look so natural and beautiful and not overdone. Now, waxing is a thing that's becoming less popular because you have to find a good waxer to get the shape of your brows right. If you don't, it's going to be the same as tweezing them badly. You're just going to have badly shaped brows that don't grow back very quickly, and you're doing just the same amount of damage. What is very popular now is threading. I am too much of a chicken for threading. I find it really, really painful. It is the way to get the nicest, most natural results. It's also good if you are growing your brows back in, because it's much more precise than waxing. Also, I find that you are more likely to find a lady, mostly ladies, who is good at threading than you are to find a lady who is good at waxing. If you have terrible brows, terribly thin brows that you're just not happy with and you hate having to draw them in every day, you can now get microblading. Again, it's something that Sam at Pixie Woo has just done a video on, in much more in depth. I've never had to have it done. It does have a really good effect, and I would say that if I had to choose, I would definitely do that microblading over tattooing, which can look a bit scary. What I would say is, if you are unhappy with your brow shape, stop tweezing. It's just let them grow out a bit and go and see someone. Do a bit of research of where you live and go and see someone, a threader or whatever, and ask them about a natural brow shape. If there is a current trend for a big arch or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to suit you, and brows are really important. So I think a lot of people have been asking me about this because brows have become such a big deal and such a big fashion statement, and everyone's, you know, says if you have to do your brows because your brows shape your face, they define your face, they're such a big deal. That is true, but if you do your brows wrong, that is all people are going to look at. They do have a big effect on your face. So to have them done wrong is worse than not doing them at all, in my mind, because it's all people will look at you for. It's very easy to have quite a quick, limited brow routine that will just give you a bit of shape, a bit of definition, but won't make you look like you've gone crazy with a Sharpie. Again, if you want to have that look, that's fine. If you want an Instagram brow, go for it, do an Instagram brow, but this is not the video for you because I'm not going to be doing those. Tools that you'll need. If you're someone who's got quite a good brow, then you might not need anything. A lot of brow products now come with the tools that you need, which is nice, and a lot of brands are now doing good brow brushes and things because they've become such a trend. I recently was given the Eco Tools Brow Duo Kit, where you get an angle brush and a spoolie, and this is like £4.50 for the two. So for me, that, you know, that is great. And what I really like is it's quite a fat spoolie, which is my preference. If you have, for example, had I love this spoolie that's on the end of this pencil. When this pencil runs out, I'm going to keep this because the spoolie's so good. Just because it's run out doesn't mean you have to throw this out and never have it again. For me, having a spoolie is the most, such a silly word, is the most important brush for brow maintenance. A spoolie is so great because you can groom your brows, and for some people that just makes so much difference. You don't really need to do much else. As you can see, maybe that brow just looks much more sorted out than that brow, so that's why these are so good. What products you use is completely up to you, and again, it's such a thing of personal preference that I'm going to recommend some that I like, but what I do think is that if you're new to brows or you're unsure, they do some great stuff on the high street. There's no need to go thumping in at the deep end to buy a product that's really expensive that you might hate. Some of the products that I like best are from the high street. The thing to always do when you start your brows is to brush them all up and then over, because then you see the real shape of your brow. One thing I would say about filling in your eyebrows, there is a 3-point rule that you should follow. If you don't follow it, that is what can start to make your eyebrows look a bit odd. There's a lovely girl I follow on Instagram who does a lot of Instagram stories, and she does her brows and she starts them too far in and it's all I can look at. And they're very rounded at the front. And often your natural brow may not be what you're happy with, but it will sort of tell you what your face wants your brows to be, if you see what I mean. So this brow on me has got quite a sharp squared off edge, whereas this one is rounder. So if I were to do a really round edge on this one, it's going to need so much filling in, that's what's going to start making me look a bit odd. So it would be better for me to just accentuate a straighter edge on this one, if that makes sense. So it's all about looking at your brows a bit and seeing what you think would suit you. The 3-point brow rule is they should start in line with your nose. So stick a brush or a pencil against your nose, the corner of your eye, in a straight line. And I'm lucky because my brows basically start. This one could come over a tiny bit, but they basically start where they should. If you were going to have an arch or any kind of slight curvature, you want that to go, again, lean the brush against your nose and go through the centre of your eye if you're looking straight ahead. So again, showing off with my brows, I'm quite lucky because that is where the highest point of my brow is. If you're having to map your brows out, what you would do is you would get your brow pencil or your powder and you would just put a little spot there, spot here, spot there, and then the last point is from the corner of your nose again to the corner of your eye, and that is where your brow should end. And this brow does end there, and this brow is short. So if you're doing a dot, you'd put a dot there, and then you just know, right, I'm starting here and I'm going to do my hairlines to here, and then I'm going to do from this dot down. Eyebrow pencils, I do think it is worth spending a little bit more on. Often the consistency of the pencil is better on slightly more expensive products. What you don't want is you don't want to draw your brow in and have it smudge or disappear over the day. 3 of my absolute favourites and ones that I use all the time professionally and personally are Laura Mercier. Her colour range is great, the consistency is good, and even my friend Libby, who is a redhead so quite hard to do brows on, she's got a Laura Mercier pencil. She started doing her brows and she loves it. Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz, which you can get on Cult Beauty in the UK. One of the original brow queens, and still I think the best. I have these in my kit. They're really good ashy undertones. Another one that I use on myself all the time is the Hourglass Arch. This for me has got the best size spoolie, but all three of those brands, they all have the brush on the end of the pencil, and the pencils all come in great tones, consistencies, and are very easy to use. So what colour should you be using? Another problem with eyebrows is people getting the wrong colour. If you get the wrong colour, again, people are just going to see that. Very few people who are lighter skin toned are going to need just black. If I, and I have quite dark hair, use just black in my eyebrows, it would look like I'd gone in with a felt tip pen, and it would be very dramatic. You can also make yourself look quite angry and unapproachable, because black is quite a harsh colour. Again, if you are a redhead, you probably don't need to have red in your eyeshadow pencil, which is why my friends who are redheads have a hard time. If in doubt, an ashy blonde, which this is, I think, medium ash, soft brunette, that they should suit a lot of people. It's the ashy undertone, the grey undertone that you want, because it's going to be a more natural look. So, do you choose pencil, do you choose powder, or do you choose a sort of gel or a liquid? That is complete personal preference. I'm a big fan of the pencil. I'm going to do one eyebrow with the pencil. One thing I do have is I do have a scar in my brow. Sometimes it's covered and sometimes it's not. So a pencil's also really good for that, because I can just fill in more that bit, and I just do tiny small lines. You want to think in small lines because your hairs are small. If I was to do a big line over the top like this, it's not going to look natural, because that's not how your hairs go. Always think in terms of going the direction of your hair, so you want to go more upwards here and more to the side here, and in little fine strokes. It's also harder to make a mistake if you're doing tiny bits at a time. And as you can see, that hasn't exactly taken me very long. Also with a pencil I like it because this brow is short, I can just do a few little lines and it just brings it down without looking like I've done too much. Another product that I love is Brow Drama from Maybelline. This for me is as good as any brow mascara. Again, Benefit also do one which is great, which is Speed Brow. This is tiny, so this will run out quicker and is more expensive, but it is a very good product. And it comes in a lot of colours. So these are great if you want to do even less than that. You can just literally sort of groom and slightly colour the lashes at the same time, the brows at the same time. This is also great if you have unruly brows. My sister has got very curly eyebrows, so she always wants something to tame them a bit. If in doubt, you can always spray a bit of hairspray on your spoolie and put it through your brows. This is also great if you've used a pencil and you just want to make sure everything's set in place and the hairs are going to stay where they are. I'll show you Speed Brow on the top of this. And if you've had to draw in quite a lot of your eyebrows, these are really nice because they pick up your natural hairs. Another way of doing your brows is to use either a gel or a powder. Now I don't have gels or a pomade because I don't use them in my kit and I don't use them on myself. You can get very good ones on the high street now. Anastasia, Beverly Hills and Diego de la Palma I think are the best higher end ones. But as I say, if you're worried about brows and stuff, I just start with some high street products and see what you like the feel of. If you are going to use a sort of dip brow product, you will need an angle brush. A lot of brushes that you get sold on the high street as a brow brush, for me, are just too fat and fluffy. Don't know if you can see the end of this. This is the Eco Tools brow brush. I just find that it's too thick, and what I want is a really sharp line so that I can again get the hair-like shape and real precise application. This is the MAC 263, which has got a really sharp edge. For my money, the best angle brow brushes are made by Louise Young. I will put a link to her brushes below. She does the best brushes anyway, but her brow brushes are just fantastic in terms of shape, application, longevity, ease of washing. Those are fantastic. So these work for either cream products or for powders. So what you can do is you can make your own brow kit using eyeshadows, which is what I have in my pro kit, but you can do it yourself. MAC do these little empty double palettes, so I have this for my kit. If I was doing it for myself, I'd just get a little duo. We've got Omega, Cork, Charcoal Brown and Brun. These are all MAC eyeshadow colours. They're all matte and they're all very kind of ashy toned. With these, I like to set them with a brow gel, but they are very good for getting a nice soft look, not too defined, and the fact that you can have a lot of different colours means that you can kind of get the perfect colour for you. For me, I use these bottom two. If you have dyed hair, you might need to rethink the colour of your brows. When I had blonde hair, the look I was going for involved me having my natural colour brows, but you may want to lighten them if you're not going for such a look. As I say, High Street now do such a good line in brow products that you should just go and have a look and see what you fancy. I mean, this I think is as good as a brow mascara as you're ever going to get, and that's about £4.50. You can get powders, you can get pencils. I just think go and have a look and see what you like. And the real thing for me is remember to try and keep the brows, especially starting and finishing. I will fill in the front of this brow whilst I talk. And build them up. Less is more when you're just learning how to do brows. Keep combing them through with your brush, because that will really help you keep an idea of the shape that you're naturally working with. One thing I would say is, as well as it looking very odd if your brows start too far in, it will look odd if your brows go too far down. This will pull the eye down and make you look sort of sad. Just as if you see someone who's done a really big arch, they can look quite angry. It's really worth making sure that your brows stop where they should. Now, they also don't have to be completely identical, but it's good to just try and do the same sort of thing on both sides. So I've had to pull this brow forward a bit but it now looks darker on the inside. So I'm just gently adding tiny, I sort of literally press this as a line onto the brow. So I hope this has been helpful. It is hard for me to show you because I have got quite full, quite dark brows anyway. Maybe next time a client comes in and I've got some time, I will do a video of me filling in their brows. If you have any questions, ask me below. I have tried to keep this really concise and very basic for people who just want to fill in a few holes and get a bit more definition to the face without going over the top. As I said, you know, of course there are people who go really all out, full on, and spend a lot of time getting a certain look of brow, which personally isn't my thing, but also there's just no point in me doing a video on that because there are a ton of them out there. I've linked below to the Pixie Woo video where she fills in her quite sparse brows beautifully, using the dip brow from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and again that will give you a really good idea of what I mean about getting hairlines, thin fine lines that look like your brow hairs, rather than sort of felt tiply colouring in. For me it's all about doing little fine hair strokes, making sure that the hairs that I have are visible with a bit of mascara or clear brow gel. And to be honest, you can go a really long way with just having a really good spoolie to keep your brows in shape.